Welcome, everyone, to the L7C podcast. We have an emergency podcast. We weren't supposed to be recording some basketball right now, but breaking news just shook the NBA world, and I'm just going to pass it on to Evan Debo to let you know what that breaking news is and how it affects things going forward. Go ahead, Evan.
Emergency to say the least, Martin. We've been talking about it all summer. We've been talking about it since the no-show with training camp and everything else. But James Harden is a Brooklyn Net. So breaking this afternoon today on Wednesday, January 13th, the Brooklyn Nets have acquired James Harden from the Rockets in about a 5-team deal that sees Houston get back Dante Exum from Cleveland, Koruts from the Nets, 3 Brooklyn first-round picks, and Milwaukee first coming their way from Cleveland that's unprotected, 4 Brooklyn first-round pick swaps. So the Nets acquire James Harden in that. They'll also get the Nets will also have 3 open slots, sending out some other players, 2 of which are coming to the Cleveland Cavaliers away. Kobe Altman, the Cavs GM, continues to absolutely swindle people with not having to give up a whole lot. The Cavs get a budding young center in their center moving forward. And Jarrett Allen, 22-year-old Jarrett Allen, along with wing Taurean Prince. And then the last caveat to all this is the Rockets have acquired Victor Oladipo from the Indiana Pacers in exchange for Karis LeVert, who actually goes from Brooklyn to Indiana along with a second rounder. Martin, my head's spinning, man. I mean, this is why I love the NBA when this stuff happens and player of the month is unhappy and you just see blockbusters like this. I mean, this is wow. I mean, this is a lot to take in. Obviously, as a Cavs fan, I mean, I already saw a Twitter graphic talking about, previously, I think DeAndre Jordan and Larry Nance were 2 of the 3 players, 2 of the top 3 players leading the league in steals. GM Kobe Altman is leading the league in steals right now, getting Jarrett Allen for a first-round pick that we got back from Milwaukee when we sent Kyle Korver and George Hill to Milwaukee last year. And, of course, those guys aren't on the team anymore in the Drew Holiday trade. So, I'm ecstatic from a Cavs perspective. That's all I can really focus on. There's a lot to unravel with the Nets, with Kyrie Irving still not showing up and partying over the weekend and everything else. Martin, your first reactions to just all this craziness today?
Well, first reactions, I guess, when I saw because my phone was buzzing because because of work, so I didn't know if it was something to do with one of my work-related things, cases and such. But then when I looked out and saw the picture of James, I was like, "Oh, he finally got traded." And we've already talked about that. We've been talking about this since the offseason. We just talked about this on our last podcast, which just came out today, by the way. If you haven't heard that one, make sure you listen to that before you listen to this. And I was shocked because I knew the Nets and Philadelphia were the top teams that the media was talking about. And with James Harden's comments yesterday and him rubbing his teammates the wrong way, DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall both said, like, come on, man, it's 9 games and you're giving up. So it was time. He needed to go, and he's going to a Brooklyn team who, by their own admission, have their own issues with their other superstar, Kyrie. But James got what he wanted, and like you said, it was the NBA superstar tantrum of the month, and he got traded, and that makes the things good about the NBA. But I do want to say and we talked about this last time, a normal person standpoint, that is not how you deal with a work situation. So with people who look up to him and things like that, thinking they can do that at their jobs and throw a tantrum and get what they want, you could do that when you're making excess millions of dollars. You can't do that if you're making minimum wage. So that's just one of the things I don't like about the NBA tantrum of the month.
Well, now if you're the Brooklyn Nets, you've got two tantrums here. You've got Kyrie Irving still not showing up for work. I missed yesterday. So again, Kyrie had attended his sister's 30th birthday party. There was a leaked video that went around. The NBA ended up fining Kyrie a prorated portion of his games because now he's going to have to sit out for COVID protocols, for their safety protocols, and every game he missed is going to be a portion of his salary that he doesn't get for the year. And then I missed last night that he attended the Nets played a game at 7:30, and at 7 he was attending a virtual event for Manhattan District Attorney candidate Tahani Abushi that started 30 minutes before their game. So I mean, like he's out to lunch. Maybe this gets him motivated back. I'm not holding out hope for that. But now you've got like two of those cases, and by all accounts, James Harden wanted traded and was refusing to do whatever. They had long been talking with the Brooklyn Nets before last night, where James had the press conference after the game and just said, things just aren't good enough. I love this city. Speaking of Houston at the time, I literally have done everything that I can. I mean, the situation is crazy. It's something that I don't think can be fixed. And clearly Houston didn't think it could be fixed either. So he's now been traded. Obviously, that didn't help things. It ultimately led to them pulling the trigger today. So, I mean, if you're the Brooklyn Nets, again, they've got 3 open roster spots. They have a $5.7 million mid-level tax, the minimum exception, and a $5.7 disabled player exception that they got from the league for Spencer Dinwiddie to fill out the roster. So active they have. So now you've got Durant, Harden, Irving away from the team, DeAndre Jordan, Joe Harris, Landry Shamet, Tyler Johnson, Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot, Jeff Green, Bruce Brown, Nick Claxton, Reggie Perry, Chris Chiozza, and Spencer Dinwiddie done for the year. So the Nets will find some buyouts and stuff along the way. The Cavs ended up waiving a few guys today if they need some folks to, fill the roster. They ended up waiving Thon Maker, getting as they got back Taurean Prince and Jared Allen. But I mean, again, I just can't get back with Justin, our producer, and in our buddy in our group chat, was talking and asking just before we hopped on, why. I just, again, like it's worth repeating why the investment in DeAndre Jordan over Jared Allen, when Jared Allen's production's better. Jared Allen is like 10 years younger than DeAndre Jordan, and I don't know that DeAndre Jordan can really jump anymore. Why did they keep investing in him? Well, it's because of this. It's you got to make your superstars happy. It's a make your superstar happy league. I don't like it as much as you don't. Like you said, where you just can't show up for work, in some situations, and people are getting rewarded with getting trades if you're James Harden and everything else, when the economy's tough, and with COVID right now and people are getting laid off. I mean, that's the Nets have appeased Kyrie and Kevin Durant by signing DeAndre Jordan, continuing to play him in the first place. And I mean, now it's resulted in a reunification of 2/3 of Oklahoma City. So the James and Russell thing didn't work out. So now it's the James and Durant show, and look out, man. I mean, those two are going to be playing soon. And we said before the season, Brooklyn was looking really good. They looked really good on Christmas Day with Kyrie. I mean, even with Kyrie off the team, that say for whatever reason, Kyrie decides to retire today. This is a scary, scary team just with those two guys on it.
Yeah, I agree. I just think from the Brooklyn Nets going forward, especially, I think Kyrie will be back. I can't even say that definitively. I think he'll be back. So you'll have the 3 of them, but going from basketball is also a team chemistry game. Are those 3 going to be able to coexist with one another? Because James Harden was the alpha in Houston for better part of this for a decade. And now he's coming here. He's clearly not the best player on the team. Is he going to be okay with that? Because the reason he left, he wanted to leave Oklahoma City, also because Oklahoma City picked Serge Ibaka over him, is that he wanted to prove he could lead a team by himself. So is he going to be okay being definitely the second fiddle? Depending on who you are, you might think Kyrie's better than him, but that's your opinion. Or potentially the third fiddle. Like, how are they going to coexist?
Yeah, there's just not enough. I mean, I think I saw a tweet in the aftermath of all this that there's only 3 players in the last like 5 years or something that have a usage percentage over 29%, and they're now all in the same team. I mean, guys that just have to have the ball. I mean, Kevin Durant doesn't need the ball to be effective. I mean, he can score at will. His shooting is lights out. I mean, that's not a concern. I mean, there's again, yeah, when they bring Irving back, that's going to be another mouth to feed in terms of possessions and who gets to dribble and everything else. I mean, I think James knows he has to reinvent himself to be more creative off ball and hopefully reinvent himself by hitting the treadmill a little bit. Homeboy's been packing on the LBs in the wrong direction. I mean, again, the dude's still a walking bucket, but I mean, there's so many different wrinkles to this. So if you're Houston, I mean, it's an impressive thing pick wise. I mean, they've basically restocked the cabinet, and Brooklyn goes on a limb and does what they vowed they'd never do after the trading for Paul Pierce past his prime and Kevin Garnett past his prime. I mean, they said they'd never do it, and here they are again, doing it, basically giving out 4 firsts and then they don't, or 3 firsts, and they don't have the ability to control whether or not they can swap with the next 4. I mean, that's basically all the 2020s are gone now if you're Brooklyn in terms of draft pick wise because of what happens. And who knows? I mean, maybe these superstars won't get together and they're screwed and they force their way out in 4 or 5 years. I mean, those are the volatile personalities there and everything else. So I mean, if you're Houston, they did the best they could, man. I mean, there was no market for James Harden when you look at it from a perspective of people want to know that if we're giving up the family jewels and a king's ransom here to get him, we want assurances he's going to resign, right? And just to be honest, they just didn't have it. I mean, Philly was the other one in question with Ben Simmons, and I'm glad Philly never pulled the trigger on that as good as they've been playing so far. And I don't know that. I mean, maybe Philly could have outbid them in pick swaps or something in a package with Tyrese Maxey, and if you pull in some other teams. But I mean, Houston did the best they could with how James just ran everything to the ground. I mean, James made them get Russell Westbrook and Chris Paul and sent out a jillion picks over the last couple of years. I mean, they had no assets. They turned Robert Covington into 2 firsts to start the season. They got a first back with sending Russell Westbrook back. And then, so they got 3 firsts in that. They got 3 more firsts today. So now they've got 6 first-round picks in Houston to go with. I mean, DeMarcus Cousins, Eric Gordon, and a revitalized John Wall are still going to be something. And as we just talked about in our pod that dropped today, we recorded over the weekend that Christian Wood is arguably most improved player of the year already. I mean, dude's just basically a walking 19-9 or a walking 2010. I mean, that's the markets are. I mean, just if you're Houston, things aren't as devastating as they certainly could have been. So there's that piece to it. And then last piece, real quick on the Indiana Pacers. Victor Oladipo was not happy. That his contract was being held over him, and they weren't going to pay him if he didn't end up going to the bubble. He didn't feel like he was super healthy. Back in the late summer, spring when we resumed things at Disney. So I mean, I think was in the back of the Pacers front office mind that, and with the emergence of Malcolm Brogdon, again, we talked about this before on a previous pod that. Oladipo was kind of the third fiddle there behind Sabonis and Brogdon. So I really like the idea of LeVert now on the Pacers. I mean, I think they're again a really good scrappy team. They've been playing well this year, and there's still some depth pieces away, and maybe one more player away from really challenging the Milwaukee's and stuff. But I mean, if you're Milwaukee now and you're looking across at Brooklyn, you don't have to be. You can be the better regular season team all year long, but when it comes down to it, if you're any other team in the East, you've got to now beat Brooklyn with Kevin Durant, James Harden, and we're assuming at some point Kyrie Irving comes to his woke senses and plays, and you got to beat them 4 times out of 7. And I just don't see anybody in the East doing it. I think if there's so many things to figure out here, Martin, with personalities and with how Brooklyn fills out its roster, and now Steve Nash, first-year head coach, has got to wrangle all these three guys, get them to share the basketball. That, I mean, I don't know that the Lakers can figure this team out, even if, if they catch Brooklyn on a couple of their worst days in a 7-game series. I mean, this is a lot of talent together.
And the timing of the moves, it's interesting because of now Kyrie not being there for a while, and I don't think he's projected to play tonight.
No.
Obviously, this, of course, happens when Brooklyn is playing on ESPN against the Knicks.
Yeah, he's still under quarantine protocols from that video. He's going to have to sit out and I think test negative 6 or 7 times before he can play, which will be could be another 5 or 6, 7 days at the earliest.
Yeah, so that was interesting time-wise. And you made a very good point about KD. KD will be the one who he'll have no problem with them, because we obviously saw him when he went to Golden State and fit in seamlessly. It just, the chemistry, because he put anyone in the East beating them, and I don't see it either from a talent perspective, but you never know. But then now we're talking about the finals. Does this, too early since it's only January, does this potentially put them over the Lakers? Because I think that's what we had as the finals, the Nets versus Lakers, prediction-wise.
Yeah, I mean, I think that holds to it. I mean, again, the Lakers have the chemistry and everything else. I mean, obviously injuries play a part in anybody's run. But so, I mean, there's so much to figure out. Again, I mean, will Kyrie suit up again anytime soon? Do they need him to suit up anytime between now and April? Realistically, probably not. But when it comes push to shove for playoff time, I would love to see that NBA Finals. I hope we see that NBA Finals. And the Lakers are going to have their hands full, man.
Yeah, agreed. This is wild. We've all seen it coming for months, and now for just to happen at the drop of this afternoon is crazy. So how quickly do you think, I know physical's all, how quickly do you think we can see Harden on the floor as a Brooklyn Net?
So I don't have Brooklyn's schedule up in front of me right at the moment. I'm stalling as I try to bring it up, but I mean, you're right. Physicals play a huge part of this. There's so many moving pieces that we've seen it before, right? Where somebody gets traded and eventually they something goes wrong with somebody's physical or something. Then they have to rope in like a new third or fourth team. I mean, I think you said Brooklyn plays tonight. I would not be surprised to see him suit up for the black and white by this weekend's game. So, I mean, it's I think it's just only a matter of time. And I mean, I know you and I will be waiting it with bated breath to see it all go down and see that first game. And I feel bad for whoever that first one is, Yeah, because they're going to want to prove themselves right off the bat.
Yeah, and even with Houston too, just a quick on them, because John Wall is actually, to me, he's playing a lot better than I thought he'd be playing at this point in time for a guy who's barely hasn't played in like 2 years, and just like their potential starting lineup going forward with Wall, Victor, Eric Gordon, PJ Tucker, and Christian Wood, and you got Boogie coming off the bench. Like you already said, that's not a bad team.
No.
So, like you said, they did the best they could, and then obviously Cleveland with the fleece. And now I guess with Cleveland's move, does that have them potentially still fighting for a 7th, 8th playoff spot in the East now?
So yeah, I mean the Cavs are 5-7. I mean, this is more today's move again. I mean, is an absolute steal. I can't believe some other team didn't come in to be that team and give Brooklyn or someone else more. Again, that's why I just credit to Kobe Altman for working the phones and everything else. I mean, and the Cavs improved their standing with the pick they ended up sending to them, because same thing, Kobe was involved with the Drew Holiday trade, and the Milwaukee needed to avoid the Stepien rule. You can't trade first round picks in back-to-back years. So that they can, and Milwaukee was stuck in that spot. So they needed to get a pick back from Cleveland, that 2022 pick. So they needed to do a swap with Cleveland so they could end up taking that pick and send it in the Drew Holiday trade with one of those things. I mean, it takes being plugged in. It takes being, connected like Kobe's been. And Kobe hasn't spent a whole lot of stuff to get us there. So, I mean, the Cavs have they're big of the future again. Jared Allen's only 22 years old, averaging 10 and 11 on 67% from the field. Obviously, a great defensive asset too, and rim protector. He's a guy who's great running coast to coast off of pick and rolls to the hoop. So I mean, the Cavs. I think if anything, the Cavs again have a couple more moves to make. I mean, obviously Andre Drummond opted into his last year of his deal. I expect now. I think that the Cavs are going to have to move on from him, and JaVale's not costing them much, and JaVale's been playing great off the bench. But I think the writing's on the wall now for an Andre Drummond trade at some point. Again, we're always talking about trading Kevin Love for at some point too, and he's only played one game this year. I mean, at a certain point, you probably got to be healthy to trade him. So, but no, I mean, I love this pick for Cleveland for the next few years. Again, he's only 22 years old. He's a month and like 20 days older than who the Cavs could have drafted that the Knicks grabbed from Dayton. Help me out here. What's his name? Obi Toppin. Yeah. And Obi Toppin. Jared Allen's played 3 years in the league. He's only like a month and 20 some days older than Obi Toppin. So, I mean, and essentially same height and, better post presence and stuff too. So I absolutely love the pick. I don't think Brooklyn plays. I just started to glance at the schedule. I don't think Brooklyn plays again till Saturday. So that might be the earliest that we could see James Harden, and it'll be against the Orlando Magic, it looks like. So I think by Saturday they'll have it all sorted out. We'll all have calmed down as a society, and we'll be on the lookout for the next superstar that's not going to be happy. So we'll go from there.
Right. And Saturday. So we'll definitely be paying attention if he does suit up and seeing first reactions. And hopefully today is Wednesday. He can, like you've already said, hit the treadmill a little bit and lose a couple pounds before he steps on that court. Because you're going to be playing. There's
a lot more clubs in New York and New Jersey, Martin, than there are in Houston. As good as they may be, so maybe we can boogie out some to gas pedal in the club and lose a few lbs. So we'll see for James. But yeah, we wanted to keep it short. Appreciate you hopping on, man, and thanks to listeners again, and thanks to Justin as always for throwing us together. We want to keep it to 20-some minutes, but just first reactions on a blockbuster day in the association. Yeah, and one thing that we forgot to say, Harden's reunited with his coach. Absolutely. We'll see how that's a huge point, Martin. Oh my gosh. Mike's like, I thought I got away from this dude. Yeah, now he's back, but I'm pretty sure they had talked with Nash and Durant and ownership, but now they're back together again, so that should be very interesting. Very, very interesting indeed. Go ahead. Look, I was just saying, looking forward to how it all unfolds. Me too. But with that being said, thank you everyone for listening to our emergency L7C podcast. You got to be quick on your toes in the NBA. There could be breaking news at any point of the day. So again, thank you for listening. Thanks, Evan, for hopping on at such short notice. And again, we're going to be watching. James Harden is on the Brooklyn Nets, and we're going to see how it goes. Thank you, everyone, for listening. You guys take care. Thank you for listening to this episode of the L7C podcast. Be sure to like, rate, review, and subscribe to the channel. Follow us on all social media platforms, and we'll be talking to you guys soon. Take care.